Hey folks, here's another episode of Address This Mess. I know we're coming at you at breakneck speed now, coming at 2 within a week of each other after doing 2 over the course of probably 5 months. I mean, things are looking up here in the studio. We did some refurbishing so that we could bring a better product to you guys. And as always, we got to thank our sponsors on this. Michael, could you remind the people what
on it is a website you should go to that offers human optimization supplements. They can help you out with all sorts of things. This guy uses them. He's obviously in peak physical condition. He also buys everything he owns off Amazon. Amazon's an online superstore run by the richest guy in the world. I'm not even super sure you should support that guy. Audible.com. Have you been using Audible lately?
Not for a while, no.
Audible.com is free audiobook. Not free audiobooks.
Also owned by Amazon.
Yeah, probably. What isn't? Probably easier to list that list.
Dude, I think they're buying a shipping. They're looking at buying like UPS or something.
That's scary.
Like they're just anything they want. They're just buying the whole thing. They're like, well, we need a way to ship our products quicker and cheaper. It's like, well, we should just have our own shipping company because we ship so much. They're like, well, let's just buy a turnkey shipping company. What's that one called? UPS? FedEx? FedEx? Yeah, let's get that FedEx one. That seems to be working. They always get their shit there on time. And that is what they're doing.
That's like an Inception when they're like, we need to get on that plane for the 11-hour flight across where they actually do the dream session.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they got an 11-hour flight with that guy.
Yeah.
And the Asian guy's like, I just bought the airline.
Yeah.
That seemed easier.
Yeah. I just bought the airline. Yeah.
That guy is, I saw an Onion article where it was like Jeff Bezos' table's latest idea after realizing it's just slaves. Like, he's under a lot of fire for not really... Like, he just takes it all off the top. That's why he's the richest guy compared to all these other guys. Because what he does with his workers and all his logistics is just bare bones. Like,
well, he's got that store
just
with nobody in it now, right?
Yeah, stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's the foray into the future. Mm-hmm. Also, no, not Dollar Shave Club.
You know what I was thinking? No, they're out of here.
Hey, bud.
You know what I was thinking? So I saw a video on Twitter or something the other day, and it was these guys, and I'm assuming an African country, and they're packing bricks, and the guy's got a wooden board on his head, and then he's taking the bricks and he's like stacking them on his head, and then he gets up like 6 or 7 high to where he can't reach anymore, and now he's like the impressive part is him, he's lobbing them.
But so, this is just like what he does every day.
Yeah.
Not like, hey, come pay a ticket to see this.
No, right. This is him literally working at a construction site moving brick.
And having a time.
And he starts throwing them, and he's landing them up there, and they're hitting at the same time and stopping. And then he builds up the other side and goes up, and then he packs them over there, and then I'm assuming he just dumps them on the pile and comes back and does it again. And there's a line of people doing this. I think the problem that happened is, like, because I looked at it, and I was like, dude, you could just buy, like, if you had one piece of equipment, you could help out those 20 guys packing bricks. But I think the problem that happened over here, like North America, is we came up with that equipment, but then we didn't come up with anything for the other guys to do. So basically, like if you had one forklift there, or like a bobcat or something, right, you could cut out 20 guys of work. But those 20 guys need that work to be able to get, like, that's what they have. They need that.
Well, that's a pretty prevalent question even right now, is what to do when technology really starts replacing large masses
but that's
of people,
what I think is just happening. I think we're just continually making things.
It's happening faster and faster.
Well, that's like my job
now
is doing that too. And you're just automating stuff, and it's just making it like one guy can now do the job of 5 men. But now you didn't come up with anything else for the other 4 to do, and now they're just out of work. And then it's just getting more and more like that. So it's just the concentration of wealth is just going to like more people. I'm not exactly that like the one guy running a piece of equipment is a super rich guy, but I guess the guy who owns a piece of equipment that's paying the guy to run it. But still,
yeah, that grows exponentially, which is it's just weird to think about. Like,
isn't that what you think you need? Like what are they called? The universal income.
Well, it's one idea for sure. I don't know what it is you really need. Because there's just a bunch of pros and cons to everything. Something. I don't know what it'll be, though.
Or can you just say, like, because how I look at what it should be is you should just have to work less. Like, if things get more efficient, we shouldn't have to do the same amount of work. Like we should just be able to work less. So rather than have like those 20 guys every day they're doing that, how about they just come once every 20 days now, and you still pay them the same as if they're there every 20 days, because it doesn't save you any money. You guys are all still making money, but now these guys get more free time to do the shit they actually want to do.
Yeah, it could be something like that.
I like that idea. I'm pushing for that. Everyone who's listening, that's what we're going for.
I'm sure there's some sort of flaw with that we're not thinking of, but
No, the thing is, when you have all that time off, you need more money, because when you're off work, you're spending money, right? So now you're picking up a second job.
yeah. It's weird. I don't think you can just have, like, you can talk about Utopia like it's something you want to be real, but you can't even come up with the proper system as to what it'll be.
Did you see Ivan Decker's thing from years ago? He's like, Utopia cannot pre-exist the utopian. It's pretty good. I like that.
What do you mean?
Like we're not ready for Utopia, because you need the utopian first. Like the person. You need a utopian, like a perfect person to have this perfect world.
Yeah.
So,
but you can't even imagine what a perfect world is. Can you?
I don't know. I have
maybe
my
with
ideas.
enough time.
I mean, I could kind of guess what I would want, but then it's like,
because it does become a subjective thing at some point.
How much writing is in here?
Like, is your perfect world have religion or no?
Yes.
One or two or three
as many
or
as they
four.
want, man. They can have all the religions.
And straight up, I guess, non-violent, right?
Yep. Basically, do whatever you want.
But I guess there'd be a lot of
just
people
don't hurt other people.
there'd be a lot of people that disagree with that. And I guess if your perfect world doesn't facilitate them, is that good or bad?
Well, I just think I think as long as your joy doesn't come from someone else's suffering. So
Right.
just don't hurt other people, man. Do whatever you want. Like they should.
But
be
then
able
you
to
start
put
breaking down that language, and it's like, what does it mean to hurt somebody? What does it mean to be abused or assaulted? Or
Well, the simple,
I mean, that's a pretty big question
the simple
nowadays.
line right away would be the physical one.
Right.
Don't physically harm people, and then where you got to get to the emotional one. I mean that. I think that's almost open game. Like you can call me whatever you want. I don't really.
So
care.
if you can't draw those lines, can you create your perfect world? Right.
Mm-hmm. But
I
no,
don't know.
I think you can create a perfect world, but I don't know if you can create perfect people. Right? That's two different things, I think.
But
'Cause
I
the
think your
perfect world-
perfect
if
world
the
didn't have
world-
perfect people. It couldn't be
Yeah, well,
a perfect experience,
That's
right?
the whole thing. That
Maybe the world is perfect as it is,
and we just don't have perfect people.
and human people just aren't.
I guess. Well, I just think like the structure of the system has to be set up so everyone succeeds. Like everyone's equal. Everyone has equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity, yes, that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a weird one.
But it's not. Like the world is so not set up that way.
No.
Because you need
But people really don't function that way either.
like I
Like
know
there
how
needs to be differences.
I know
in
how you got to
people.
get rich. Apparently, you got to be controlling oil. You need to control the oil, and you'll be rich. I don't have enough money to control the oil, and I never will. So I will never get that oil money.
But if you have
So
differences,
if I had
in
enough
people,
money to just buy drilling rigs and just like pay people to drill the holes, I know I would just make tenfold on my money, and you'd just be super rich. But I don't think there's any way that like a middle working class person could ever get into that industry.
But I think if you give everybody the same level of opportunity, there's still differences in people that they're going to do different things with that level of
I
opportunity.
know, but then we have difference, and that's great. Like we have
Right.
so many people that are specialized in
But
so
what
many
does it
different
lead
things.
to? Does it lead to a disparity between people's quality of life? Because you look at super capitalists, and then it's like, well, they're playing this game in a certain way. And I guess you could look at some examples of people kind of cheating the game. But look at this Jeff Bezos guy, or Walmart, even back in like the 2000s.
Yeah.
They ran out the business line like to the end. Like, this is what you do. You offer the cheapest product or the best product at the cheapest price, and then they're putting these mom and pop stores out of business. It's like, well, that's the game.
Yeah.
So at what point are they at fault? At what point is good business turn into bad business?
Mm-hmm.
Or have diminishing returns? Not for them, but for the other people around it.
Maybe get rid of franchises.
But that's hard to argument to make.
Yeah.
Can't
Well,
have more
just-
than one store?
Well, just the way that you can monopolize things.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to prevent that. And I don't think you want everything funneling to one.
But if you're the guy competing in the market, you want it all funneling to you.
I know you do, but
Right.
maybe you should do that's a bad thing, man. Maybe you should be content with your store. You got your store.
But
Make your
that's
store the best
successful.
store.
You can't put a cap on my success.
Yeah, but I think it's way better to spread that wealth out. Like, I think that's our problem, is that there's those guys and then they're getting.
But at what
all of
number
it.
do I have to start giving back? I mean, taxes try to dictate some of that.
Well, you can just
But
have
they're
your
like,
store.
you made $50 million. You don't get all that. You're like, fuck you. I do.
You have your store. If your store makes you $50 million, keep it all.
Well, you pay a certain amount in taxes.
If your store is good enough to bring in everybody, right? Then you're fine. Then you can have it because you made a really good goddamn store.
So all the Walmart people,
Pardon?
like all the Walmart, I guess there's just more than one of them.
but there's so many that's a franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
So you only get to have one store.
Yeah. You get your one store.
Oh, I don't know if you can have that.
Yep.
Because then you're putting a real cap on people's. Every other person's a store owner.
Because then they'll put their love into the store. Because then you'll be like, I really need to make this a good store because it's my best store and it's the only store you're focusing on. So then you make it a really, really good store and then people come to it.
Right, but then you do that
product.
and then you're like, boy, another one of these in Iowa would be great, huh? And you're like, no, sir, you got your store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know
Give
if
someone
you
else a
can do
chance.
that.
Let someone else have a chance to open a store, you dick.
Everybody has a chance to open a store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let him open a store. But if you
No, because
keep
you're not as
opening-
good as me
but
as
if-
a store.
But if you
opening
keep
stores,
no, I don't
I'm
like
way
it.
better than you
no,
at
I
it.
don't like it. Well, you need to let us practice. We're not going to get better if I don't get a practice because you keep coming
No,
in.
you get better by competition in the market, which is what I am.
I know, but
I'm the top dog.
No. You would
Yeah.
be competition in your hometown or where you're not your home, wherever you built your store. That's your competition is near there. And maybe I say, you know what? He's too good. I'm going to go level up by going to Iowa where they have shit. And I'm going to build up my guy. It's like repping your guy up in like Pokemon when you used to go train your Pokemon.
Right.
And then I would come back and you'd be like the boss. And then I would fight you and take down your store.
So I guess what if in Alberta they have this store that's just really great product, great prices, and here we just don't have it. I guess maybe you could draw the analog to like the insurance. We don't have like private insurance you can seek out. Mm-hmm. It's all like mandated by this one thing, and that can fuck you or help you depending on who gets control of those rules. Mm-hmm. But you'd rather have the free market system for competition to make sure that they can't all just set some price and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. You know what I used to think about with Walmart when they had rollbacks? I was like, oh, dude, I would just wait till it's a penny. Because they would show those commercials. The guy with little happy dude would be constantly rolling everything down. And they're like, rollbacks. And I just thought it got cheaper every day. I was like 17, I think. No, I'm just kidding.
2 months ago?
Yeah, I was waiting. Rollbacks seem to be moving very, very slowly these days. Yep, one store. That's all you get.
I don't know. Like,
Next question, please. Next question. What else do I need for my perfect society? Prison?
you're gonna have to find a way for everybody who thinks they're oppressed to get their shit on the same level. That's a spider's web.
That is something that I've been saying forever that I don't know how you do that. How you like assimilate a oppressed class back into like society.
So that everybody's satisfied.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, we'll quit treating you like shit. But how? The big question is, how long do you let them bitch about it for? You know, like how,
Probably don't classify it like that. It's more like how long do we take to work through everything?
you guys can have a 6-month bitching pass where you can complain, but you don't want to become the oppressor. You can't have the oppressed become the oppressor.
Right,
They're
but
not
what if you're
allowed
just
to
born
come-
a certain way?
They're
What
not
if you're-
allowed to come and treat me
You
like
look
shit.
like an oppressor, but you've never really done that in your life. Mm-hmm. But that's the role you're going to play.
But
Or that's how everybody's going to see you. If they're oppressed and you look like their oppressor, then fuck you.
Yeah, but I'll give them 6 months. And then they got to start treating me with some goddamn respect around here.
I don't know about that.
6
Because there's
months
so
isn't
many
long
of them, and they all have
many
like
of who,
different reasons. People that are oppressed, like a different group of people who are like, no, shit's standing in my way, and they're playing the victim card super hardcore. Mm-hmm. And you get to do that to a point in some situations, and you shouldn't even really call it a victim card at that point.
Right.
Like that black guy who got shot.
Yeah.
Just
Which one?
Like the most recent one, a few days ago.
Was it in his backyard?
Alton
We can
Sterling.
look it up. Yeah.
We should probably get the name right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Alton Sterling. A 37-year-old black American was shot several times at close range while resisting arrest by two white Baton Rouge Police Department officer.
That's interesting. It says he was resisting
I
arrest
know.
because I didn't know that was the case. Or
Like,
maybe that's not the case. That's Wikipedia. You probably shouldn't say that that's the case.
Yeah, that's what we're reading here.
But the cop got fired today, and
oh no!
I mean, you see pictures of that guy with his family.
Oh, was this the one where he was selling CDs?
No.
Yeah, this is from July 5th, 2006. Video of Alton Sterling shooting. I think they just did the sentencing, didn't they? Here's the video. You guys want to watch it? Can we watch it? Will we get pulled?
I don't know if this. Did we just mix the names up? No, because it said he got fired 1 hour ago. That's weird.
Because I remember this.
We're way out of it.
I remember this. This was the guy, I think, who was selling CDs. Right? And the video, this is all on video. And this cop right here, he claims he thought he had his taser out, right?
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I think that's what he claimed. Because in this video that you can see right here, he has the gun pressed to his chest. And he literally just shoots him right in the chest while he's laying on his back like that. And it pops him. And he's like, I think he claimed that he's like, I thought I had my taser. And I was about to tase him. And I think that, I don't know if I want to play.
See, and I don't know if that's your garden variety incompetence, but there's a weird pattern that, like, maybe you don't see with your eyes every day, depending on where you live. But you hear about all these stories. And you're like, are some people really just shooting black people?
There we go. The video was, okay, so they were just fired just recently. So the cops just got shit about it. The video was just released.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is this the guy who was selling the mixtapes?
I don't know. I'm probably butchering this completely.
Anyway, okay, so the black guy who got shot. You're saying he gets his time? Is that because we're talking about oppressed people?
No. Well, that's just like...
Where were you going?
There's certain groups that are oppressed. You could say that it's like, well, there's a lot of evidence here. But the way you go about addressing, say, inequalities, whatever they might be, is kind of the most important thing. Whatever route you're going to take, because a lot of it is backlash. Like you're saying, you don't just want to treat people the way that you were treated as like a revenge thing.
Right.
It's like you're supposed to just... I don't know if you're supposed to just drop it. But I also not sure what you expect to fix it. Like what you want is for it to stop. But I don't know
First of all, you have to make sure the people that you're mad at are the right people.
Right. Or any reasons you're mad are the right reasons.
Like if you're mad that you're oppressed, don't be mad at your neighbor. Like if you're mad because you think, oh, this is your son, but that you think that white people are oppressing you, don't be mad at your neighbor because he's Caucasian, who just works a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
He's not the oppressor.
Because that's identity politics.
Right. Be mad at the shitheads at the top who are keeping you.
Well, be mad at any individual. There's people who are of a race that still like fuck over people of that race.
Does it have to be racial
or whatever?
Is that what it always is?
Well, it can be.
You're talking about how if I looked like one of the.
But it can be gender. Like you're a cisgendered male. Like
what's a het?
Yeah, hetero.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic.
But and whatever, I guess if those words are going to enter the lexicon, I mean words that chord is kind of just up to the language. Like every now and then I guess the dictionary releases a few words because they got so popular. They're like, "Yep, everyone's saying this now, so we got to address it."
Jam it in there, yeah.
And they could be pretty lame words or like now it's acronyms like LOL and shit. You kind of have to address it, but the language dictates itself, in a sense. But some people like try to work really hard to dictate the language, and that's kind of what you see with like compelled speech and stuff like that. Where they're like, "Hey, say this." So they're okay. So then you got a group that's like, the guy says he's other kin, or something like this, and now he's oppressed.
If they want to be other kin, I don't really care.
Right. But the world's also standing in their way.
But listen, you're not getting your own bathroom.
Right.
Like if you're a fox, I'm not making a fox bathroom. You can go.
Right, but would you make? I guess that's a weird one. But like, would you make the third bathroom
for transgender?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess if there's enough of them, right?
But that's a weird one because is that a boy-girl bathroom?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's so many different explanations
Maybe
for
we
that.
could just all go to sharing bathrooms.
Because transgender people aren't all the same thing.
Just make them all wide open. Let's just make all bathrooms everyone goes to.
I don't know.
Women have to
It's
go in
too
stalls
dangerous.
anyway.
No, because not every bathroom is just a big thing. Some bathrooms are small, and you just don't want a guy and a little girl going in the same goddamn bathroom.
Yeah, but
And
the little girl should maybe have someone going in with her anyway.
Well, she's 14.
And then if it's small, like if it's a small enough bathroom, if it's designed for one person goes at a time. Right?
But if it's designed for 4,
4, okay, but then she goes in the stall.
and it's at the end of a hallway.
I see your problem. I see the problem here. I guess you don't know until you try, Mike. So you got to try it.
We got to find a way to include as many people as you can realistically.
You have to have video
But what
cameras
people
at the
point out with
entrances
all
of
these
bathrooms.
transgenders, and there's a lot of transgender people that don't want anything to do with the argument, man. They just want to carry on.
Could you have audio in the bathroom?
What do you mean?
Maybe that's what you need. Like, you know, like, because a bathroom is like the terrifying thing about a bathroom is there's no cameras, there's nothing. So if like a sexual predator wants to get a hold of, like you're saying, a 14-year-old girl in there, he knows that he can grab her and there's not going to be any video footage of it.
Right.
So then it's going to be his word against hers type of thing. Could you put just audio in there so you could just hear like her screaming or something?
I would frame somebody immediately.
Would you?
If it was admissible in court, just go in there and make up a narrative.
You're a terrible person,
Put
Mike.
your fucking pants back on. But that's why it would be inadmissible in court, is because you would make it there and you'd be like, you can't prove any of that happened.
Right, right.
But maybe you can. Like phone calls are admissible in court, right?
Well, if
They were on the phone and the incident is happening.
yeah, like if you made some shit up and I just said, "What are you talking about? I'm not doing anything," and then you're like, "Oh, okay, like I'm not doing anything," and if you're yelling, then I just walk out, and then they go to the tapes and they see me walking in. Because you could have a camera at the entrance. That's a lot of infrastructure, though. Now we need cameras at the entrance of every bathroom and audio inside. Half the time you're just going to hear people
We're not
shitting
making
out fucking
progress here.
Chipotles.
It's a tricky one. So do you introduce the third bathroom? We got questions. The people want answers.
God damn it. It's so hard being a dictator.
I don't know.
I don't know if you can bring a third bathroom, and I don't really care. Or you just use whatever one you want.
Yeah, I don't really care about that one either. But what's weird about the thing is that what people say is that there's something bigger at play. There's a philosophical idea that is leached on to movements of minorities, no matter what group they are. Mm-hmm. And they really push the oppressor-oppressed narrative, but they use it to push their own pawns forward. They're not really concerned about transgendered people, but they would like for the lexicon of the people to be controlled by the government. They want to be able to mandate things that you say, but you have to do that very slowly.
Right, that's that whole Bill C-16 thing.
Right.
Where, yeah, you're like, well, if we can get it so that this is now compelled speech, and then where do you draw the line? Mm-hmm. Now you can start adding shit on. Well, now you have to say this too, and this. Mm-hmm. Then next thing you know, you got to start.
But there's great examples in
Trudeau,
history, and if you read Orwell's 1984, like people wrote about this stuff a long time ago because it already took place, and they put it into an art form and wrote a novel around it. Mm-hmm. But it's the forewarning of all those things, and it's like you can't give the government too much power. Mm-hmm. So that's where you kind of get into a conservative mindset where you're like, oh, you're right, big government isn't good.
Right.
But like a certain level is mandatory as well. But it's that thing where people can't meet in the middle.
You know what so Dubai, I heard that everyone who lives in Dubai just gets money just for being from Dubai.
An Emirati, I think.
Yeah, so if you're one, you just get money. Does that not sound like the way it should be? Because to me, that sounds like that might be whoever's running Dubai might be the one guy who's just a really good. It's not even Dubai, right? Dubai's the city, right?
They're also not very nice people in other regards.
I do understand that Dubai was built on slave labor from India. They were flying people over from India, promising them these high wages and these jobs. And when they got there, they jacked their passport so they couldn't leave, paid them half and told them to build their shit.
Yeah, and we're just sending that home to your family, by the way. You're not going to see that cash.
But the thing that I like about it, not about that, is they got the buildings done cheap, okay? So they got leftover capital and
That's
they're giving it to the
Trump line
people.
Right there. That was 100% Trump line.
No, the thing that I like
you want it done? I'll get it done.
Is that
you throw enough human suffering at anything, shit gets done.
Well, I think the trick that they got there, though, is that they share all the money. So to me, it sounds like the one guy who's getting all the money, he's actually just doling it out to the people. like it should be. Like I always thought with our wood and our
Yeah,
oil,
but in one man's own discretion.
yeah,
It's not a voted entity.
but in
right?
like
It's
so
just
in
like,
Canada, like all the wood and the oil, I don't think someone should own that. Like that should be every Canadian's shit, man. Like we should all share that. So then I think what the best deal would be is if all the money made from our oil and wood just got divvied up to people. They're like, here's what it is. And then I guess you could still have people working in that industry and then they could get paid an hourly wage as well. But any resources that we export, I think should just be divvied up to all the people of Canada.
I think it is, but it just,
But it's not really.
well, they just don't give it to you.
Did you get
It's
any
just
money?
taxed away from you.
What, how, in what way? From as a working man, yeah.
They'll just say, "Oh, we made this revenue," but that all just goes back into another project. Like that money's not just going to get pooled out to you again.
But it should.
But then you just have to reassess the whole like tax situation where they're like, okay, well, if that money's not going back in, we're going to need that money from somewhere, and the only
But
thing
what
we
would they
have
put
here
it
is
back in
tax
for?
dollars. Well, whatever they come up with.
like
What does Canada spend its gross domestic product on? I don't know. Like I don't know what that budget looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But you have military, you have all like we're a pretty big government. There's a lot of little stations
But
everywhere.
isn't all of that shit just paid for from income tax? Or is that paid for by selling? I don't know how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Is that paid for by selling our resources? Like we sell to Canfor, bunch of rights to trees,
Right.
to the timber rights, and then the money that they pay for those timber rights just goes to the government, and then they use it for government funded shit. Or is all of our money just coming from income tax? Like the people who are working to cut down the trees got to pay some money, and
We would have to ask somebody in the know on that one.
we need a political scientist.
I'm sure Google has the answers.
It's probably more an economist, right? I don't know. Maybe they both know.
But
Maybe
anyways, the
one of
Emirati
each.
model is not exactly altruistic. What it is just to incentivize the males, or like give the males.
They only give money to the males?
No,
That's
it's
not
like
fair
no,
either.
it's like
Come
they
on.
they can make you a citizen. They can make your children Emiratis.
Right.
So it's this purification thing.
But the women can't. Like I can't
Not
go
really.
marry a woman.
The
and then
daughters,
become an
I'm not sure how it
Emirati.
works with your daughters,
But if I was an Emirati and I married,
but you can bet those daughters aren't marrying anybody that's not fucking vetted
right?
by the males in their family.
Shoot.
I mean, those are sweeping generalizations. I don't know that many Emiratis,
I haven't met one yet, but when I do,
but that system is kind of like you see where he's
they
coming
seem
from.
like they're doing.
You
good.
see where he's coming from, and yeah, it's like why should he not be able to do that? But the reasoning behind it is most likely a bit nefarious. It's not just let's help people out. It's like let's make us better than them kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, you're allowed a certain level of that. Even if it's not maybe in the long run the best thing for everybody. We allow it all over the place. Drawing divisions between people. You try to keep it peaceful. But you can subdivide a group into a group into a group into a group until you realize that, like what the West realized, is that the ultimate minority is the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Just the person. You have to treat everybody on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, oh, I've met somebody like you, so you're this way.
Right.
You're immediately making a mistake.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, though, because you still need to like get information across. And there are statistics that are true across groups. That's another thing that's like a little bit touchy.
Well, it's like it's not a stereotype if it's true.
Right. But there's just things like 1 in 4 black men are in prison. That's a stat. Like I didn't read the study. Everybody
Right.
seems to concur. Those are the stats. But you have to address the reasons why. You go,
Yeah.
well, okay, that's a real discussion.
Yeah.
But if you get too caught up on that surface statistic,
Mm-hmm.
you walk into ignorance land, where you all of a sudden you don't know what you're doing or what you're talking about really. You just take this stat and you're like, all black people are criminals. 1 in 4 of them are in fucking prison.
Yeah.
And then you go too far on the other side. It's like, well, it's just a systemic thing. It's just they're just rounding us up and throwing us in there.
Yeah.
And it's probably a bit of both,
Yeah.
right?
Little column A,
But
little
that's why you have
column
to
B.
take it by individual.
Right.
But the systemic discussion is a pretty tricky one. Because it's hard to wrap your head around. You have to really like spend some time. Like it always seems to be in the South. There's like this systemic racism in the South. Like that's the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, maybe there is. I don't know everything about the South.
Yeah.
I only found out recently that black people heavily outnumber white people in the South.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't really think that was the case. Maybe it was close or something. But that's why they have these gerrymandering discussions where they're like, you're not representing people enough because this just wouldn't be the case. But they have to do that there because if everybody got out and voted, it might look a little different.
Yeah.
What are these?
I was going to bring this up later, but the guy at the mill was telling me what?
It is later.
Okay. He's talking about China started taking over just islands. So apparently there's an island that's right near the Philippines or something. Anyway, they used to have like a little, like get so much international or like water from your coastline.
Mm-hmm.
That's your water that other people can't go on a certain amount of miles out. And then once you get past that, it's now international waters. I guess the long story is was it the Philippines or Taiwan? One of them got them to withdraw the U.S. troops out of there. Like the U.S. troops, they had their little base set up there or whatever.
Little occupation.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, we want you guys out by this time. And then like a good landlord gave them plenty of notice.
Damage deposit.
And they withdrew all their troops. And as soon as they withdrew all their troops, I guess China went and just took this little rock that was like near there. And they poured a bunch of concrete and built some buildings. And they're like, okay, this is now part of China. And now they drew their border crossing. They're like, yep.
All the way across the water
now? Yeah. They're like, it comes out now here, goes all the way around this island and back. And they took a passage that many like shipping vessels go through. Like Japan,
right.
All of Japan's shit gets shipped through there. And China's like, that's ours now. If you're going to come through, you're paying money. Or you guys are going to have to go around. And it's a long way around. And so they're saying, it's bullshit.
Can we see a map on the...
Let's try to find a bigger map, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Because the guy...
World chess.
What it was the guy telling it to me was he was pumped about Trump because I guess he called Obama weak because he said Obama let this happen during his administration.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Obama's a weak man. But then Trump is like, no, you can't do that shit. And so it sounds like the first good thing maybe Trump is doing. I don't know, though. But
well, we'll see.
Let's see if we can get an image.
Yeah, well, maybe get a timeline on when they decided
here
on all this.
This is pretty good. Okay. Is it? No, that is. Whoa, that is. No.
I don't know if they could just have that part.
Is that what they did?
I'd like to see the border on, like, what they call one China. Like, you have to recognize one China. And I think Taiwan is part of one China. It's supposed to be. Like, China claims to own Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
But Taiwan wants to be its own thing. Where there's some sort of infighting there. So if you recognize Taiwan, that's a slight against China.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Donald Trump did that early on. Where he, like, called the guy up.
Yeah.
And then China's like, you're not supposed to call that guy. But he might have been lying about the call. It's so crazy. Strange times.
But yeah, it seems...
So they built that in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah.
And then now the...
Yeah, like they literally... like.
I wonder what kind of paperwork you got to go through to be like, okay, this whole chunk of the ocean's ours now because of this.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. But it's weird because the guy who was telling me before telling me this story,
mm-hmm.
he was from South Korea. He's like 70, so he's got like a real different mindset on it. Like the way that they look at the world is just like military. It's like they're playing a giant game of Risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he views it, he's like, no, this is really bad because this, and now they have this, and they can be here and this. And I'm looking and like, to me, I think, well, if it's war, all bets are off.
Man,
like I'm going to come into your water if it's wartime. I don't give a shit.
They're communists. I know it's kind of like a cliche thing to be like, you fucking commies. Communism sucks. By all accounts, it fucking sucks. But this is kind of what happens. You get this paranoid state mentality, and then everyone's like, well, better get on this fucking team.
Here we go. This is pretty decent. So it shows here, like they used to have, just down here or whatever. And then now they've claimed these spots, I guess. So now here's the new line. So China's like, this is all our water.
Wow.
And that's where like Taiwan used to get all of its shit shipped up through, and Japan and everything. And now they're claiming all of this water. And they've
I wonder what that
literally
does it
just
say what
built
that
these
part is
islands.
called? Like it's part of the
South China Sea.
South China Sea.
That's,
Is what they're gonna call it?
That's the body of water. Oh,
Like-
I guess I'm already fucking
Right.
buying in.
You're already
Oh, shit.
you're already shilling for them. That's got a nice ring to it too.
I know.
You know how much it costs to go through the South China Sea? Dang.
Not good for a guy with a lisp.
What's it actually? Just part of the
I don't know.
is it part of the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean?
But you're asking the wrong guy. I haven't left the country. Well, that's not true, but I don't get out a lot.
Oh, big shot of Rex Tillerson. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to as many presidents as this one and the last one, but the turnover in that guy's cabinet, like all the people that are getting fired around him and like or getting like subpoenaed and fucking having to step down. I don't know. It's not like there's not enough coverage on anything that's going on in American politics, but the narrative doesn't seem to express how serious that is. Like people just flipping and flopping and fucking.
Yeah, I don't really get how.
Like I wonder what the truth is. Imagine how compelling the truth really is to what's going on in that fucking circus.
If you find out why those people are getting
like
fired?
if you just got the unabashed truth, the private conversations, the thing you would see if you were watching House of Cards.
Yeah.
To make you, the viewer, understand all angles of the story. What that real truth is. It's probably crazier than anything you can come up with.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. So much corruption.
I think corruption is just like one way you can probably put it all under one umbrella.
Right, but you can frame things all sorts of different ways when it comes to
you
corruption.
know what I
You're
heard?
like,
I'm going to fuck this up too. Damn it. It's about
What are the bullet points?
It's about the pipeline. What's the pipeline that's coming through here that people are protesting?
I don't know.
Is it the Kinder Morgan?
I think.
Is that right?
I think
So right now, I heard all the oil gets shipped from Alberta to the U.S. via rail, I believe. And the people who own that, it sounds like the reason, the protesting of the pipeline is being funded by the guys who have the shipping rights right now. So the guys who, they're like, if this pipeline goes in, they're going to lose a shitload of money because all of it's coming on their rail right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a certain amount of money per ton of oil shipped. So it sounds like they are, like a theory that I've heard is that they're paying like native bands, First Nations bands, to protest this pipeline so it doesn't go in so that they can keep making their money.
Because they have a vested interest.
Because they showed that it's got like, if the pipeline goes in, this company loses like $1.6 billion a year. So they're like, okay, we can't let this pipeline go in, but we can't just be like, oh no, like, you know, no, like, you know.
All right.
So it sounds like they've got some underground shit going on.
Is there even anything illegal about that?
I don't know. You know? But it's weird to think like that's what you would be doing as a business, right? You're like, no, man, we're going to lose a lot of money. We can't let this go through.
Unless they're not disclosing that money.
We need to make it seem like...
He's going to find a way to donate it in a weird way. Yeah, we're giving them $50,000 for a cakewalk. They're hosting it. It's going to be great. They're going to put a banner up with our company name on it. Well, is that bad business? It's bad for people. Maybe. It's underhanded. But if you stand to lose 1.6, you said billion?
Yeah, B with a B.
That's like at what point can you frame that where you're like, well, say you and I run that rail company and we know all these people and we know how many workers we have and all their families and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. At what point are you like going to frame it in a way that you rationalize it to yourself? And you go, we can't not do this. We got to slide a couple envelopes into a couple pockets here.
Yeah.
Because we need to keep up business as usual. And we got a competitor in the market, another fish in the water.
Yeah.
So you do what you got to do.
Well, yeah. And they'd say like they could be paying the BC government too to try and stop the government from allowing it to go through. Right? So you're going to start paying off people in government.
Paying off politicians is...
Yeah.
That's something
It was
you'd
a
want to
juicy
know.
thing when I heard it.
That's something you would
hey.
want to know the real truth about. I bet you that would be the most compelling part. Is like
Mm-hmm.
the names and identities of the people who are actually, if anybody, pulling the strings.
Right.
The puppeteers.
But doesn't it seem like $1.6 billion, like, people have been killed for a lot less.
No doubt.
So would you not be afraid if you're going to do that and then these guys are like, look, don't fucking build that pipeline? Then you're going, fuck you. Like, that would be scarier than any gangbanger.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Even if you find a Bacon Brother type,
Yeah.
you just sick them on somebody just to send a message,
Yeah.
distance yourself from the guy. But again, then you're really crossing a line.
I have the money to have you killed by somebody
yeah.
who has nothing.
Obviously, that's the bad thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But just in terms of moving money around and nobody really getting physically harmed,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to rationalize that to yourself, I think, as business, as you doing what you got to do in a competitive market.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving money, influencing people's behavior, but I think you can rationalize that all to yourself, especially when the number's 1.6.
Yeah, especially when it means that there goes your new yacht that you had planned next summer. It's being built right now.
Well,
man.
but like, I guess you would have to assess what type of person you are when you get up to be the leader of a giant company that's worth $2 billion. You're probably a certain personality type.
Right.
So you probably have a bunch of different things driving you to make
Well,
that
that's
decision.
probably just your life score is that number, right?
For a lot of
the
guys,
higher
yeah.
you can get that number, that's what you did with
There's
your
probably
life.
some ethical people up at the top, but I don't know. Because you create that position, and then you wonder who's going to climb the ladder, and you think he's going to be this composite hero type, this Jesus figure, who's going to do all the right things. It's like, no, you created an opportunity for monsters to climb a ladder, and they're going to get there because they'll be obsessed with nothing but that.
Yeah.
So yeah, now they're all there after a few years of running this system, and now they're not going to relinquish control. So then they just make their families powerful, and then you just, if you allow campaign contributions and things of this nature, the game's rigged.
Well, it's what they talk about with like techie people, like the tech people, like because you get what was I gotten to talk about? Should everyone's vote be equal? Tough topic.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, should that guy really have as much say as that guy? Real touchy subject. But then you're like, who would you really want the people that do it? Like the really smart people, like the techie guys or something. But it's like the tech people, they're just problem solvers. They seem to not have like empathy or compassion.
A bedside manner.
Here's a problem. I know how to fix it, and it's not like they're not including any. Yeah,
For sure. There's idea men and there's
so that's what they're talking
songbirds.
about. They talk about just even with all the like information farming that's been going on with like Google and Facebook or mining or whatever.
Yeah,
they
there's
call
some
it.
business ethics for you.
Yeah, and it's like some guy came up with the program to just be able to get, what do you want? You want everyone's birthdays from Facebook? So you're like, okay, I know how to do that. I can do that. I can fix this problem if you want to know everyone's birthdays. Right. And then this guy just writes this code and gets it done. And then it's like, oh, yeah, well, we also want to know this. Oh, yeah, no, I can get that done. And now you've just got a group of guys, and you probably can, like, strive on some people's ego. Like, hey, we need this. Can anyone do this? And this guy's like, I can do it. And that guy, no, I'll do it first. And then now you got people competing to come up and write this code to solve this problem that these people want done. And then they solve it, and they're like, I did it. Like, then you get a little shot of dopamine there, the human reward system. You feel good. But then you don't realize that you just sold, like it's basically like, did you let the power fall into the bad hands?
Yeah. Well, did you watch that Snowden movie? No? Very compelling.
Which one?
With
Was it
Joseph
just called
Gordon-Levitt?
Snowden?
I don't know.
Or was it? I've watched one and I forget.
It's probably called Snowden. But you start to realize the depths of it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, it works on that scale of people to the person where you're like, my personal data, okay, they got my birthday. Okay, they got some of my habits. Like, they know what websites I visit, yada, yada, yada. But when you put that on a macro scale of people, well, now they understand trends of a giant group. And when you're chasing profits, that's as invaluable information as anything to your business. And then people pay money for that. And then eventually you're going, okay, well, they got too much. They're invading our privacy too much. But you don't feel invaded personally, but people are being invaded. And it's this weird thing where it's hard to care because it's not you.
Well, the one that creeped me out,
But
like
it
I
is
didn't
you.
care when I heard like the NSA reading emails and that type of shit.
Right.
And they could read all your text messages and stuff. Like I don't really give a shit. But then when you realize those are just regular people working at the NSA.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work there, you could just pull up my file and you could read all my shit. So now it's personal because it's somebody that I know is now digging into my shit. Like if it's some guy across that I've never, brush shoulders with at all, even
Right.
he wants to look at my shit, I don't really care. But then it's like you have people that are looking up their wives, their husbands' shit, or you're getting dirt on a relative, or your daughter's dating this new dude, and you start reading text messages he's sending to your daughter or to other people, or
Well, these
and
are
like, that starts to get to me. You're like, no, that's way too much.
those are the minds in the field of the privacy conversation. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you don't feel invaded, but it's not right that somebody else has that level of access.
Yeah.
Because everybody feels differently about their privacy. And why do you even need privacy? Like, that's the weird thing. Because apparently the most virtuous person is this open, honest, transparent, nothing to hide type cat,
Yeah.
just living in the moment and all this stuff. But that doesn't feel right to any one person. Like, to not have no privacy.
Yeah.
There's something you need privacy. You need to at least like
I don't want people
one of the
stealing
things,
my goddamn jokes.
Well, some of the things Orwell one of the things Orwell wrote about in 1984 was thought crime.
Uh-huh.
It's a crime to have a thought about something because you can have some of the worst thoughts in the whole wide world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ever have your imagination get running and you're like, I gotta fucking shut this off?
Yeah, it took me a while.
Where you're like in a dark thing and you're like, can I get darker than that? Darker than that? You're like, whoa.
I heard a thing one time, and I kind of learned it through meditation too, was that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness of your thoughts. So say like I have a thought right now, like, oh, punch Mike in the face.
Right.
And I'm like, God damn it, I'm such a bad person. Like, why am I thinking that I should punch Mike in the face? That's not you. You are the awareness of that thought. So then when that thought comes in and I go, no, you shouldn't punch Mike in the face. That's who you are. You are the awareness of the thought. So not your initial thought isn't you, but your reaction to the initial thought is you. Because I've also heard it another way where they say your initial thought is society on you, and then your secondary thought is you. So it would be like you'll like a racial bias. If you see someone of a different race and you're like, uh-oh, like, yo, this guy looks like trouble, or I don't want to be around that guy, right away.
God, he's shredded.
Now, yeah. Right away, you're like, you're not racist. The way you react to that thought is what does it. It would be that society has made you to believe the person of this
Right.
culture is a violent person or dangerous, and you got to be aware or afraid or whatever you want
Right.
to call it. But your reaction to that thought is who you are. So you're like, no, this guy's probably just a great dude,
Mm-hmm. Or you're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, I'll stay 10 feet.
Yeah.
Because he looks angry. But that could be anybody. Anybody can look angry.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that was like, same with Joseph Goldstein when he talks about meditation. He says, I wanted to learn how my mind worked. And he said, the simplest thing he got told about meditation was, if you want to learn about your mind, sit down and observe it. And that's basically what you're doing with a lot of Vipassana meditation, is just an awareness thing. You just sit there and clear your mind, and then your mind will just start thinking about shit. And you're just kind of observing your mind and the way that it goes through like a thought process. And it's like unconscious thinking. And you're just being aware of the thoughts. You're like, okay, that came in. Okay, that's there. And then where does it go from here? And now it leads to that. And then you start doing that. And then also, yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about what's out of your control. Like, how much are you really in control of what not just what your thoughts are, but like what overcomes you, your reactions to things. Like if you're agoraphobic or something and you just can't go outside, I don't know that you could really explain that to anybody and have them understand it, because people are like, it's just so
right.
I guess it's kind of an extreme.
They have
like
therapies,
you can't step outside your house,
but they have therapies for working people through those.
right?
What is that one? It's like I forget what type of therapy it's called, but it's pretty good. Like if you have a fear of heights, what they would do is they would take you up one story, and then you go and you look down. You say, okay, good. And then the next day you go, now 2 stories. And then you look down, and then you keep going and slowly progress until you're 100 feet in the air. And then now the 10-foot one seems like nothing. And 20 feet, you're like, oh, that's fine. So I guess to overcome like the.
But does that always work for these people?
I don't know. Like
Because
if,
it's
like
one
if
of
you're
those
afraid to
things,
go
it's
outside,
like-
you just start by getting the guy to carry the garbage can to the end of the driveway, I guess. I don't know. Why am I trying to fix this problem already? You know, just trying to fix. Maybe he likes being inside. Maybe he just doesn't want to go outside. Maybe he likes being at
Well, no, because we know it's an irrational behavior, right? You would have to identify it as not normal. Even if you're a recluse or a hermit or anything, like we kind of all agree that no socialization is not the optimal route.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's doing that, there's a good chance that they're just not their best self. Maybe they could use some help. Not that you should just assume that you're the one that's supposed to help them.
Right.
But a professional could probably make their quality of life change in a way that would be enjoyable if they got out and did some other things.
Yeah.
But people find that comfort zone, and it's just that's the spot. Not getting outside this if I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to go too far outside it, but that's the yin yang, right?
That's that whole thing, I guess. So like just constantly pushing yourself through boundaries, right?
Well, you're supposed to have one foot in one foot in the other. I really think that you're supposed to just be a fucking on the fence for almost everything. Like find the middle ground.
But I just mean,
and look from there.
Right, but I mean in the other sense where it's like, you know, like it's good to be uncomfortable. I guess, like you have,
But not too uncomfortable.
No, but because that's when I always feel like I'm actually doing something. Is like when I'm afraid or like nervous or you don't really know.
Well, that's where infinite potential lies. Potential is one of the weirdest things because it's something that only you believe is real. Mm-hmm. There is zero way to measure potential, but it's really hard to refute. Mm-hmm. It's a metaphysical. You know, what is it?
It's this intangible thing that you just can't get a hold of.
But is it real? What does it mean for that to be true? Scientifically, how do you prove potential?
Mm-hmm.
If you're strictly
you map the genome, Mike.
If you're strictly stuck to logic, I don't know that you can scientifically. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I don't know that you can scientifically prove potential.
Well, because they don't even know what consciousness is, so I don't.
What does it mean to believe in something that you can't prove? Usually, if you're on the logical side of things, you go, "Oh, that's fucking fiddle faddle."
Hippie
nonsense.
Baloney.
Right. But hard to do that when you have a feeling like as strong as you do to think the potential is real, a real somehow force.
Right. Well, I think it takes a strong mind to be able to believe in something that's not there, because it's really simple to believe in something when you can see it. If one of your 5 senses can pick it up for you, you can feel it, you know, see it, taste it, smell it. That was only 4. What's the other one? Hear it. Yeah, then it's
I can hear the potential.
Oh God, I can taste the colors.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's not something that bounces off any of those. But I mean, at the same time, some people are in a real bad place when they start picking up things that their senses aren't. You just start like having delusions.
Oh yeah,
and you're just
see what you mean.
Or people claim they know. I just know, like I was someone in a past life or something like that.
Right.
Like,
well, I believe in intuition. I believe if you just follow your gut a lot of the time, it really works. Like a lot of time you just have a feeling. You're like, yeah, I don't know. But then again, also that's wrong a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, a lot of gamblers out there.
Dude, you're on my mic. Good thing I have this pop filter. I should probably take off. I got a comedy show to go to pretty quick here.
Yeah.
That was another hour though.
Perfect.
That was good. We will be back with more answers for you guys on.
If you ever listen to these things, just go through the first 15 minutes until we hit a groove.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Michael, thank you for coming by.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
It was nice meeting you guys.
So long.